Ladies and gentlemen, today I am here with my great friend Phil Wilson, one of my favorite human beings on planet Earth. He is the author of the Approachability Playbook. He is Mr. Approachable. That's why I can be in his personal space and he doesn't mind. And he's just got lots of wisdom on all kinds of other things. But this is what we're going to talk about today. So Phil, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I have the preview edition, but this is a couple years old, or I don't know. I got it so I could preview it. But there's a real one out. Well, I'll put up you can get it on Amazon.
Yep.
You get it on Phil's website. I'll put up some links on there. So let's just talk about approachability.
Okay.
And why first of all, you kind of leaned into like that piece of leadership, because it's the 3 essential habits for thriving leaders and teams, approachability. So kind of give us the overview on how you got here, and then I'll dig into some of the things in the book.
So our experience, my consulting experience, was driven primarily by being the first person on the scene for a lot of leadership train wrecks. So that's
perfect.
That's kind of how we started. And I spent a career. It's sort of weird. So we will show up at a company that's having a huge employee relations problem, and most of the time those are caused by leadership failures. And so we would show up and we would kind of get things turned around, but we kept experiencing, these leaders that, and sometimes they'd be leaders that you would think, on paper would do well, but they'd fail. And I started asking the question, really because I wanted to fix things, but started asking the question, what is the difference between someone who's going to succeed and fail as a leader? And that led to this quest of looking for training that worked, and we had a hard time finding stuff that we really thought helped new leaders in particular, but even people, that you tend to get promoted to your level of incompetence.
Yes.
And so
yeah.
we...
That's what's happened to me. That's what I'm doing here today, Phil.
Me too. So we searched for what would work, and I had a heck of a time. Literally spent years.
But there is a gazillion books on leadership.
Yeah, there are way too many, and there's so many different ways to look at it. But the question I was trying to answer, I had this hunch that there was, I'm a nerd, so the one ring to rule them all. There's something
it's got to be
that is underneath all of it, and I don't I'm not sure that I've necessarily found the one ring, but this one is definitely right there close to it, and that's this behavior being approachable. And that discovery of this key leadership behavior led to, so we've studied it. It is truly underneath things like trust, being a transformational leader, all kinds of other core leadership components that we know are valuable and that we know create engagement, create good connections with your teammates. But being an approachable leader is really underneath all those things. And so anyway, we discovered it. We then have spent a lot of time trying to break down, okay, well, what is it? How does it, what is
approachability? It's kind of like leadership. What is it?
Yeah, exactly. And then have learned how to train people and teach people to be approachable.
And you've condensed it all into this handy dandy.
That's right.
It's a workbook. You can get it, read it, put it to work. So let's jump into this, because that's what there's all kinds of, you can stop, because I flip through, you can see I just mark it all up as I did. But the first, in the very front, is this power distance, kind of mind the gap sort of thing. So tell us about that idea, because it kind of is the whole premise on how people act or don't act with leaders because of that relationship. And you've got great stories. And of course you do these live seminars I've got to be a part of, and then you consult with people. So here's what I'm curious also, once you've done this, because this has been out, what you've learned on top of it also. So in some of those things, if you have any fresh addition that didn't make it into the book, but you've discovered as you've gotten to be in different companies. So we'll go that route also. But the power distance thing.
Yeah. I learn every day. And a lot of times, so there's a saying you teach what you need the most. I learn every day about being approachable, and both as a leader here and at my, a leader at my house, and in group, volunteer groups. And so I'm constantly learning about it. But this power distance idea is so critical. So the idea of power distance is basically this idea that we all, when we're in a relationship with someone who has power over us, we will either fear them, so that creates wide power distance, and if you are experiencing fear, then you are going to be more deferential to that person. You're going to be indirect with them. So wide power distance is basically that you're looking at their position and their authority, and at the limbic part of your brain, I mean, it's essentially fight or flight. So someone with wide power distance, you fear at some level. And then if you have low power distance, that's more like a relationship with a friend or a peer. And so you feel more comfortable and safe around them. You will be more direct with them. And so the idea of power distance is that as leaders, our teammates experience power distance somewhere on that range with us. And if they experience wide power distance, that's a negative thing for several reasons. So first of all, if my teammate is experiencing wide power distance, they are less likely to tell me the truth. They're less likely to. They don't want to say anything that's uncomfortable or say anything that might offend you.
Do they think that because something then negative will happen back to them?
Yeah. And it's happening at a subconscious level. So the limbic system of our brain, it's incredibly powerful. It is the whole reason that we exist, because otherwise, our ancestors were the ones that had a good limbic system, and so they ran away from the rustle in the bush. The ones who didn't make it, they were, they're like, hey, I wonder what that rustle in the bush is.
Let's go look.
Whoa, saber-tooth tiger.
Let me just say this. I was chatting with a leader this morning. He removed some people from his team. He said after the fact, he found out they were afraid of him.
Yeah.
They literally said, we've been afraid to, and he was blown away by it.
Yeah.
He was blown away.
Yeah. So that's power distance. And people will not tell you, right?
So as a leader, will you know?
You have to be on the lookout constantly for signs of power distance. By the way, that whole fear, so part of it could be like, I'm not telling you, about a suggestion that I think would really improve things here at work. Sometimes in the extreme cases, I tell the story of Air Florida Flight 90.
I mean, it's life or death.
Right. Sometimes the thing I didn't tell you is, oh, by the way, the plane's about to crash. There's all kinds of really negative things that can happen in organizations where if people won't tell the leader the uncomfortable truth or the thing that they're afraid the leader might be mad about, then the leader never has an opportunity to respond to it, and bad things can happen. And so because it is happening at the subconscious level, it's not like we consciously go, oh, I think that this person is going to like leap across the desk at me and attack me.
Right, because we don't think that. There's not going to be a physical.
The limbic system, it's all happening subconsciously. So your subconscious is going, this person is powerful, this person could negatively impact my job, this person could fire me. In this particular case you just brought up, right? This person did fire them. Okay, so that fear, it's not like that fear is unfounded, but it's something that happens subconsciously. As the leader, if you want your team to share with you, and you'll have experiences just like the one you just brought up, where it's like, oh, nobody ever tells me anything. I'm always out of the loop. Like, you're fired. Okay. Well,
I mean, that's the irony of it.
That behavior, the next person is probably not going to tell you the truth either, right?
I mean, it's just like, if in that scenario, if the people would have been more forthcoming, it would have benefited everyone.
Exactly.
Like, it was to their detriment.
Yeah.
And then what they were trying to accomplish.
Yeah. So as leaders, it is not natural for a lot of leaders.
So let me make sure I clarify this. The leader is the one then responsible to say, Phil, it feels like you're not telling me stuff. Yeah. So we have to initiate kind of closing the gap. People on their own won't come and say, hey, I'm afraid of you.
Yeah. It's a two-way street. So it's not that the follower has zero, responsibility for this.
Right.
You need to be able to kind of lean into that fear and maybe even bring the subconscious to the conscious, like, okay, I'm not going to get fired if I bring this up. Okay, so there is that part of it. But the responsibility really does lie with the leader to be constantly looking for signs of power distance. And there's 3 places where it shows up. There's physical gaps, so that can literally be physical distance. It can be I'm fidgety. I don't want to make eye contact with you. There's other signs.
So if you come to
signs.
the door, Phil's door's right over here, and like you're at your desk, and I just stand at the door. Is that the physical kind of thing people look for?
Right. That's a great sign of power distance, where I'm not going to come into your territory, right? I mean, it literally, is sort of like that, alpha behavior, right? I'm not gonna enter into your territory. There's verbal gaps, so that's things like mitigated speech, where I will not tell you what I think directly, or I might beat around the bush. So that's a sign of power distance. Or I'll try to figure out what you think first, and then I'll tell you my opinion. That's
you know what's so funny about that? Like when people beat around the bush, as a leader, the thought is, this person must be incompetent. It reflects poorly on the person, not that this person just doesn't want to shoot me straight.
There's a lot of, so the third gap is behavioral gap. So this is a saying, doing gap, right? So my employee comes up to me and says, yeah, no problem, I can do that. When in the back of their head, they're like, there's no way I can do that. But I'm not going to tell them. You that. Right, I'll just hope that they don't follow up. And then from the leader standpoint, you go, this person, I can't count on them. They procrastinate. They never follow through on what they say, but it's actually my fault as the leader that this person does not feel comfortable telling me that their schedule's full, that they have too much on their plate. They would rather lie to me, say they're going to do it, and then hope that I don't show back up, right? And so going back to the guy that you talked about this morning, that is so common, where if you're not looking for these signs, you are not going to notice that someone is experiencing distance, and then you lose the opportunity. First of all, just have that conversation. Hey, I don't know exactly what it is, but I just feel like there's something, like you're not telling me. So you encourage leaders to kind of go intangible. Like there's just something. There's like these subconscious. You stand at the door. You don't shoot me straight. I don't even have to say those things. It just feels like there's something that's not connected between us. We use this model called whoa. Whoa. Right? So you notice behavior. So the first step is the W's, watch. So you're watching for these behavioral signs. Okay. As the leader, I'm watching my team to see if I notice any of these. Right. And then if you notice, these signs are in this book. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. There's great lists in there. And if you notice, then you ask for help. Like, hey, look, I need your help with something. Your opinion. Your opinion really matters to me. You've got a lot of experience here. You do this all the time. I don't really do it all the time. So I like your advice. And that's the A. So you're asking somebody for advice, which flips the power relationship in that moment. And when you're at that watch step, you might go like, look, I feel like you're trying to figure out what I think about something. Your opinion really matters to me. I want to know what you think, and I need for you to feel comfortable, telling me the truth. And so, your opinion's important. So I need, what's your advice? What do you think I should do here? If you were in my shoes, what would you do? That opens up the space where someone feels comfortable to share with you. And you could also, in that situation, if it's something that's happening, over a period of time, you can go, look, I feel like I'm blowing it. Like I feel like I'm doing something that's making you uncomfortable. Help me figure that out. Like I want to make sure you're comfortable. To invite you into the solution. Yeah. And a lot of times people in that conversation will go, no, I'm fine. But they really are experiencing distance. Yeah. Now that you've brought it up and you've said that, they go, okay, I do feel like I can be straight with them. Yeah. So let's get to the three elements then that come here. Connection, the 3 pillars of approachable leadership. Yes. So it is be open, understand, and support. Right. And yet it comes up when I'm reading through this, the right place, right space, right space, right, because it's environmental, right, and then right understanding right feelings, and then right actions. Right. So just kind of walk me through all 3 of those. So the whole point of it, we call it the connection model. So the whole point is to connect with your team. And the connection model has these 3 pillars. So the first one is openness. So this is both, physically, like is your door open? Are you available when to people, to your team? And then it's also partially, like when you show up, do I roll my eyes and like, oh, not him again? Yeah. Or am I like, oh, I'm happy to see you. Okay, yeah. So that's how he responds. That's right. That is true. And it's true. Right. So openness is the first bucket, but that's not enough. So I can be available and open, but if you come and I'm a jerk, that's
so if the door's open, the way I feel in your presence, it's not enough.
Exactly. So the second pillar, understanding, we call that right feeling. So I feel better when I leave than when I got there. That's all about listening and empathy as a leader. So
some great stuff in empathy. Yeah.
So that's the middle part, and then but that's not enough. So the third pillar is right action. So you probably experienced leaders or people that hey, they're happy to see you, they're available, they listen, you have a good conversation, you feel good when you leave, but they say they're going to do something and they don't follow through, and then a series of that. They may as well just have been a jerk at the beginning because it's like they're lying to you, right? You always agree to do something, you never follow through. So for a leader to have good connection, you have to be filling all three of those buckets. You got to be open, you got to be understanding, and you have to support by being good at follow-up and follow-through. That's the model.
This is convicting me right now because my son has asked me to do something, and I'm like, I'm going to do that. Uh-huh. And I just forget it. I've even written it down on my calendar. It didn't happen. And he's like, Did you do that? No.
The thing you said you were going to do? Right.
I just need you to do it. I'm like, I'm not very administrative. Get somebody else to do it. But it's kind of on me. So that last one.
It's hard.
You're right. The last one, it can jeopardize the first two. You can be very sincere and it feels all very real. But if that last one, that kind of creates a lot of problem. Really diminishes trust.
And it's interesting. So we teach people, all around the country about this, and people will be strong in different buckets. So you'll have a group of leaders that mostly are great at support, but don't do the connection, that understanding bucket well. Or you might have people that are good at the last two, but they're just not good at the openness. We call that curb appeal, right? So their curb appeal is not great. So you'll have people that'll be strong in one and not in the other.
Can I outsource it as a leader? Do I have to be strong in all three, or can I say? How do you instruct people on that?
It's hard. I mean, you're not going to be effective if you are trying to well, I don't do follow up and follow through. That's their department. So you are going to.
I don't do the actual work.
Now, there are definitely strategies and tactics that you can do in each of the three buckets to try to either simplify it or to, so sometimes the reason why people aren't good at follow up and follow through is that they're busy, they're overwhelmed, right? So sometimes that's being careful about what you do commit to actually do. Sometimes, it's just being systematic about it. So having,
a good process or system in place that when it comes in.
Right. How many places do you have for input of things that you need to follow up and follow through on? Do you have a to-do list, but you never look at it, right? So some people, Cal Newport is, the guy who says, get rid of the to-do list. Don't even have one. Just if it's important enough, put it on your calendar.
Yeah, and that's how I do stuff. I use my calendar as my task list. Yeah,
and you have to do it. But
yes.
I mean
and the challenge is when you don't, and then it's on that day, and you've moved on to the next day. I'm not one to go look back.
Then that's part
of the system.
Right, that's got to be part of the system.
Yeah,
and that part, by the way, wouldn't necessarily have to be you, right? Like if you had some way of marking off the stuff that's done, but if that's an open item and it's still on the calendar,
somebody else could say, "Hey, Greg, did you do that?" That needs
to be. Yeah. And I mean, I'm blessed. I have great support.
You got great people around here.
That's a key part for me. That is not my natural strong area, and so I do have to have, so after I finish a phone call, part of our process here after I finish a phone call is Tammy goes, "Hey, what's the follow-up from that call?" Because and it might be, there isn't any, but it might be, thanks for asking, because there is follow-up, and I would have been lost if I hadn't. Yeah. So anyway, you have to know what you're good at and what you're not.
Yeah. Okay, so out of the three, or even in all these things, because there's just so many good things, there's just a lot of, I'll say this, there's a lot of practical ways to implement these things that you're saying. So let's, instead of, we got a little bit of time, I'll look at some of these. I'm curious, what you found in doing leadership and kind of implementing this with people. What's been maybe the most surprising for leaders? Surprising that there was a power distance, or the difficulty of putting in, I mean, the blind spot type things, the windows that you talk about.
Yeah.
Talk about that idea, because it feels like that could, when people are watching and listening and thinking about themselves, I think that's the great deception. It feels like we're close. It feels like they tell me. And yet there's still maybe missing.
We are the worst judge about that, right? We the leader is the worst judge about my people being open with me, because first of all, it's self-serving to believe like, my team, they talk to me, sure, everybody tells me, and so you have to really constantly be probing about that to make sure, like, okay, are we good? Is there anything else?
But is it like having like a spy amongst the people? Like, hey, make sure you tell me what they're saying? Is it that kind of thing?
Yeah, because see that
diminished trust.
Right, that does diminish trust. No, you've got to do it by observing the relationship with each person on your team, looking for those signs, and then related to that middle bucket of what you're really talking about there is that middle bucket of understanding, right? And so the way that you create comfort there's two things that we teach on that. So the first one is the approachability window that you just brought up. And that's based on Johari window. But the basic idea there is that the healthy way to grow a relationship with somebody is, first of all, to share with them, to be and be vulnerable. I think that's kind of a loaded way to put it. Really, it's basically just be interested in your team and share with them some things about yourself, and do it in a comfortable way. And so the comfortable way, I call it offer and acceptance, but basically you share something and then they accept that by sharing something back with you.
That's an interesting perspective. So when I tell you something and then you just tell me something, like, okay, I'm willing to accept what you're telling me, and I'm willing to kind of go to that closer level of intimacy. I mean, I know that's a strong word also for business, but that idea of, by you then willing to share something, they're accepting me sharing it.
Right. And then the flip side is, we all know those folks that, like you meet them and then 10 minutes later, they've literally shared everything, embarrassing
Can I create gap?
About their life, right? And you have not said a word.
Yeah.
So that's not a comfortable way to grow a relationship with somebody. And so what we're trying to get across is, look, you need to be comfortable sharing with your team, but you also have to wait for them to share back. Don't just like blah everything about you.
Because that's the signal.
Yeah,
they're taking in what you're sharing.
Yeah, because sharing only your own stuff, that's off-putting, right? That creates distance.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that we teach.
Yeah.
The other one is the stop, listen, confirm model, and the basic idea there is that we as leaders, we tend to be great at problem solving, and it can be a curse. So a lot of times, especially in that understanding bucket, where someone has something that's important to share with us, because of power distance, it takes them a while even to decide that they're going to come in and like have this conversation with you. So they screw up their courage and they come in and they start to tell you their problem, and they really they're like bearing their soul, and then they're 10 seconds in and you're like, oh, I can totally fix this, and then you just wait for them to take a breath. And then as soon as they breathe, like you jump out with your awesome solution to their problem. That is the worst thing that you can do. And
boy, that's hard to restrain.
It is, especially like leaders. Not only do you take pride in it, you probably got promoted because you are great at solving problems, right? So,
and if somebody's coming and telling you a problem, it feels like
oh my god,
it's perfect storm. I can help you.
This is the one thing I can do, right? So what we teach is that it's great to be a problem solver. Like that, there's nothing wrong with being a problem solver, but you have to first make sure you've got that connection right. And so what we do is we teach a brain hack to basically give your brain a new problem to solve, and that's a stop, listen, confirm thing. So stop is just full stop. So that's really more around the openness, but you need to really pay attention to someone when they come to you. So put your phone away, pay attention to them. That's step one. Listen, so that's just active listening. Make sure that you're listening to understand. But the real trick is that confirm step, because the point of the confirm step is that you're listening to fill in this sentence, which is the sentence is, you feel blank because of blank. Do I have that right? And so you feel blank. You're asking to, you're going to state an emotion. Mm-hmm. A lot of times, I mean, we do a lot of training in manufacturing environments and kind of little rough and tumble environments, and people go, "Yeah, we're not talking about feelings here."
we don't bring feelings to the workplace here.
And so I like to tell them, "Look, I'm not talking about, I feel blue today." It's like, hey, you sound frustrated. You sound overwhelmed. You sound like no one's appreciating you. You've had it up to here, right? Okay, so that's the feeling that you're talking about. But you're stating, it's trying to summarize in a word or two how they feel based on what they've just told you. Okay, so you feel overwhelmed because you've got a lot of stuff going on at home, and we've been working a lot of overtime, and you feel like you're the only one that volunteers to stay when you really need to be at home. Mm-hmm. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Okay. And that little phrase, if you can fill that out first before you go into problem solving mode. So a couple things happen. First of all, when you give your brain that problem to solve, you're not going to be spending a lot of time figuring out what the solution is, because you're trying to figure out, is this frustration? Is this overwhelm? What is it? And that part of your brain is that your brain will be consumed with that once you give it that problem to solve. Okay.
I like that idea. Give it this problem. So it's a brain hack. So your brain focuses while I'm listening. Here's the problem I'm trying to solve. Not this person's problem. Yeah. I'm trying to figure out what word to attach feeling-wise to what they're communicating.
Exactly. And
that's kind of fun.
And it works great. And here's the thing. Even if you're wrong, let's say you name the wrong feeling. Okay. All that happens is they go, well, I'm not overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I mean, I can handle it. It's just, I just feel like nobody really notices. Okay, so they'll correct you, but they still feel understood. You actually listened, and you thought about how they were feeling about this, and you gave a quick explanation. Even if they feel like you didn't quite get it right, they'll give you the correct answer. And then you can move on to the next part of the conversation, which will go one of two ways. So a lot of times there was no problem to be solved anyway. They already knew kind of what they wanted to do or what the answer was. So they just go, I don't expect you to do anything about this. I just needed to get it off my chest. I feel better now. And then away they go, and they're great.
Yeah.
And they feel listened to.
Yeah.
Or maybe there is a problem now to solve, and then you go into solution mode, but they feel understood as the foundation. Either way, they're going to leave that conversation feeling great. Unlike the situation where 10 seconds in, you spout out the solution and they go, well, I guess I'm a complete idiot.
Yeah.
They didn't even
have to hear everything.
Yeah, I didn't even get to tell them the problem. They even solved something that I wasn't even talking about.
Yeah.
But, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
That's never a good connection.
Okay, and tell me this. So these folks listening, let's talk about the space part a little bit.
Yeah.
Because that feels like I can do something about creating right environment, right space. What are some tips, tricks, ideas for people that the listening is so they're observing, because it feels like the space when they can, I don't know, it just feels like a more tangible kind of idea.
It's pretty concrete. And right action has some of that too, but the right space, this is stuff like, is your door open or closed? That's one part. Is there a place for people to sit down? Is there a place for...
Don't most leaders' offices have that kind of environment?
They do sometimes, although even in my office in here, your viewers can't see this, but I have the desk with the computer with the giant screen because I'm old and I need a big screen TV to see my computer screen.
It's like a 65-inch. It's like a 65-inch monitor.
But that... Yeah. You if you're stuck behind that, nobody can see.
When you come in, it's just
So exactly. So you have to get up. Right, exactly. So you've got to sit in a chair or sit at the conference table. But for a lot of leaders, they're in the middle of an email, and so they don't get up out of the chair and move to the comfortable space. So part of it is knowing what is the comfortable space in your environment. Part of it is just getting people to come into your space. So candy is a great trick there.
Right, you talk about food. There's always food. There's food in here.
There's nothing more approachable than a bowl of candy.
That's why people do that.
Exactly.
They put it there because it somehow breaks a barrier when I come up and I take a piece of candy out of your...
Right.
bowl on your desk.
It could be, sports stuff. It could be personal pictures, or like if you're into fishing or hunting.
So all that stuff makes people feel closer to you because you seem more human. Is that
it? Also gives them something, like it's a point that they can come and talk to you about. They feel comfortable coming in and sort of starting the conversation about the either the sports rivalry or the team that we both like, and that creates that space where, okay, I'm comfortable coming in and having that conversation, and that gives you the opportunity then to veer it into, well, hey, how are things going at work?
Yeah.
So anything that you can do
what
to
about
invite people.
Going out? Like, what if can I, as the leader, go into people's offices?
Yeah.
Is that power, or is that somehow
no? I think
also
anything that you do. So again, if you think about it like territory and sort of alpha, right? Like your territory, them coming in like that creates more of a distance concern than you going to their territory.
Because home field advantage.
Yeah, exactly. So you want to go to the extent that you can. You want, and the best answer is to do both. But like you want to go to their territory as much as you can. That's the magic of management by walking around.
Yeah.
Is that like you want to go to where the work's being done and go to where the people are. And so if you spend all your time in an office with a closed door, then that's not approachable.
Yeah, and that just sends the signal. I think I'm a pretty personable individual, but I've had multiple people over the years in leadership, people say I'm intimidating. That they're intimidated because I'm kind of like aggressive and optimistic.
High energy. Yeah.
But like I'm in people's space, I'll go get and so it's an interesting, like I wouldn't know how to. So I think for the people watching, I really want them to feel like, well, how can I really be conscious? Because I never would think that. Because I don't think that about myself.
Yeah, right.
I'm like,
right.
I think that's open.
That's a great, but that is a really great way to think about, knowing that about yourself is really good because that gives you the opportunity, first of all, you can just, knowing it about yourself, it lets you say it.
Right.
Hey, look. Yes. I know, like I can fill a room when I come in, but
I really want your
exactly,
input.
Yeah, exactly, and that's good. That's a good thing to say, and then that breaks down that barrier, right? And I think,
but I'm telling you, people, because I do the same thing like you do consulting. People will say, I sit at a table and I say, I want to hear what you have to say, and people don't say anything.
Yeah,
and I'm like, they have something to say. So if you think that, I always say, if you think silence is agreement, you're a delusional leader.
Yes, right, exactly. And so, I mean, that's a good point. Just saying, I want to hear what you have to say. Like, I want to hear what you have to say.
Dang it, like, right now.
So that is, that's expressing power, right? We have people who will make you say if you don't. Right? So you have to create that space. So going back to the woe, so in that particular situation, go back to that woe model. Okay, I want to know what you have to say. So that's a fine place to start. But then your opinion really matters to me. Let me explain to you why your opinion is so important. Okay, now it's not just I want you to tell me something. It's that I need you. Like I really value your opinion. Okay.
Yeah.
So now it's not just I demand your compliance.
Yeah.
It's I need your help. And
that's a significant shift.
That's a very different conversation. And then if you go to the I need advice, which is that last step, what would you do if you were in my shoes? That is a totally different conversation than tell me what you
shock
think.
People, I would think.
Yeah. It depends on how much power distance there is to start with. And another great point, though, is that if you are historically someone who kills the messenger, don't expect the first time you try this, like everyone's going to just tell you everything that they think. It takes time and effort for them to feel like, okay, like it is okay. I think they really do want to hear what I have to say.
When you do consulting, so you do consulting, you work with leadership teams, you work with companies, organizations, does any leader ever say anything like, I don't want them to get too close? You know what I mean? Like all of a sudden we've just the gap, like I like a little gap, or power distance.
Yeah.
Is like, do people ever say that?
Sure.
Like there's a concern.
Yeah, I mean, it typically gets said something like, look, I don't need to be everybody's best friend.
Yeah.
I want to keep work and personal separate. And so a couple points there. So this isn't about being everybody's best friend. Like
right.
you're not, you don't have to, go out with everybody on the weekend or go out.
That's not approachability. Approachability
yeah.
isn't now I've got to go hang with everybody.
Yeah, that's totally different. But you do have to open up enough that they feel, the key thing is, do they feel safe and comfortable around you? Mm-hmm. Okay. And again, power distance is different for different people. So there's some people that you work with right now that there is no power distance. Mm-hmm. They would feel comfortable and safe. And there might be some people that might be even on the flip side of that, right? Like they're always in your office. So that comes up a lot too, is I've got some people that I can't get them to actually go do their job. That's a different...
that's a whole different beast.
That's a different issue.
Yeah.
But so what you're really focused on are the people that you have wide power distance with, and what are the things that you can do to make them comfortable to where they feel safe sharing with you. And with those people, you probably are going to have to reveal some things about yourself personally. That doesn't necessarily mean like I have to tell them about my kids, or I have to tell them about like my parents or But what it does mean is that you need to share experience with them that shows that you understand them, that you maybe have been through what they're going through. Empathy, like that is really the more critical thing to share. It's not so much that you're sharing, stuff about when you were a kid.
Yeah.
It's that, look, I've been where you are. I've been through something similar to what you're going through. I know what that feels like.
Yeah.
When we use the example, and this is, for example, like someone standing outside the door, right? One thing you can do is go, hey, I notice you're not in the room. Like, you have to come in to talk to me. Okay, that would be one way to shrink that gap. But a better way to shrink that gap is to go, oh, I do that exact same thing. I never know whether to come into my boss's office or not. Like, I'm always like in the door, out the door, like, where do I stand?
Yeah.
I want you to feel comfortable. Come in. You're telling them, I have that same personal experience that you're going through, and it's okay. That is really more what I'm talking about.
Very cool. Our time is already concluding. I didn't even flip through the book a whole lot, but we hit a lot of good stuff, and there's more good stuff in it. So if they want to find you, website, cell phone number, email.
Yeah. Speaking of approachable, home address.
Exactly. Social security number. So approachability, like, give them a spiel on, here's where you can connect with me, here's how I'd love to serve you.
Approachabilileadership.com, all one word. That's where
you have surveys, and I'm interrupting already, but you have like stuff they can take to self-assess if they're approachable.
Right.
That's all on approachabilileadership.com.
Good boss quiz is on there.
Yeah, good boss quiz.
So, approachabilileadership.com. I'm on the Twitter at approachable LDR. So approachable LDR, because they don't give you like enough words to do the whole thing, enough letters. But anyway, so at approachable LDR. I'm also on LinkedIn, but approachabilileadership.com is the easiest place to start, and then all of the contact information.
I forgot the quit. I remember there's good stuff like that helps people.
There's stuff about how to improve your love life on there.
What?
I mean, it's almost Valentine's Day.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm not sure when this will come up.
Oh, well, yeah, but Valentine's Day's already passed. But if your Valentine's Day sucked, that might be that you might not have been approachable.
You might not have been approachable. They're all like, I'm trying, man, I'm trying.
But you'll make more money. You'll live a longer, happier life.
These are all the guarantees of being approachable.
Those are all the guarantees.
Better love life, make more money, live a longer life. Why didn't we start there?
Yeah, we probably should have. That's where I usually start my speech.
That's where you start your speech. And Phil, travel, speaking, training, leadership, mentor, like groups, all kinds of stuff. You'll find it all at approachabilileadership.com. Thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to when we visit again. Thank you, sir.
Yep, thanks.